Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you along on this edition of Talkback, sponsored by the Mustard Seed Asian Cafe at Southgate Mall, Selway Armory on Stockyard Road. More guns and ammo than anyone in Missoula. The best prices in Montana with Montana's premier firearms dealer. Also brought to you by Nissan and Hyundai of Missoula under new management, offering lots of rebates, discounts, 0% financing on a huge selection of inventory. Check them out on Brooks near Southgate Mall. Also brought to you by Bulls Eyewear. They offer some of the lowest prices in town on contact lenses. See Lynette at 2910 South Reserve. Transport Equipment, your headquarters for RV service, maintenance, and repair, located just south of the wire. Call 541-9097. And by Diggit Excavating, bringing 30 years of excellence to every job. Call 214-4292 or visit digitmontana.com. One more, Kootenai Creek Village, the maintenance-free active adult community in Stevensville with the best of western Montana living. Well, hello, everybody. That's John King over there, frantically working over at his computer, trying to get a number, right, for
Yeah, I'm
for
trying
Rebecca?
to get our guests on. We have one guest. We had two guests today. What could go wrong, right?
Right.
9 o'clock guest gets laryngitis, and our 8:30 guest
Hasn't shown up yet.
Don't know quite what to do there.
Well, I will be more than happy to pretend to be anyone you'd like, so you can interview me if you like.
Thank you, Santa.
Well, that's fine, John. Have you been a good little boy for? Well, I guess not.
Probably not. Don't think I passed the Santa test.
Anyway, all right. So I guess we could just throw the phones open and get some phone things going on.
Yeah, I'll work on arranging our guests.
That may be her right there. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. And I will tell you, one of our original guests is a woman who wanted to talk about radical Islam, and she's the one who has laryngitis.
Yeah, Rahid Raza.
And I was listening to the video that was put out by an organization she's affiliated with, and it was so powerful, and so that even if she can't be with us, I would still, if we have time, like to play that. It's about 15 minutes long, but it's full of information that people in America simply need to know. So anyway, hopefully if we have time, we'll be able to get that done. But first, let's get to the phones and say good morning to our friend Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Good morning, Peter.
At least you didn't bomb out on us. That's a good thing. So what's going on?
Yes, I'm a consistent caller, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's something in the paper this morning, actually yesterday, I think, about the bison range.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
as a matter of fact, my good friend Susan Campbell Renault has been working very diligently for years. The bison range at Moise is one of her passions. And she has been warning for years and years and years that the federal government is going to eventually hand over entire control of that bison range, which is a national park, to the CSKT. And people are saying, no, they wouldn't do that. No, they wouldn't do that. And now the proposal, I guess, is out there to do just that. Is that what you were calling about?
Yes, exactly, because that was in the paper. And so I was wondering the financial aspects of it, because that is taxpayer supported. If the tribe is planning on buying it back, or what is the deal?
Well, I don't believe it has anything to do with a purchase. I pretty much believe that. Now, I could be wrong. Susan, if you're listening, I would love to have you call 721.
Management, right?
Yeah, the management would be turned over to them. I'm not sure if that means ownership, complete control, 50%, I don't know.
Well, at this point, and I haven't been up there for years, but at this point, it doesn't cost anything to go up there, does it?
I don't believe it does. You can just drive right onto the range and look around. And
yeah, I went up I went up a couple months ago.
Yeah.
When they were doing the bison herd, they rounded them all up. So there were no bison, hanging out until you got to where they were all, bottled up in this fence. It was bison heaven.
Okay.
Yeah, there she is. Yay!
All right. Hey, thanks for your call, Catherine. Our special guest
sure.
has just
Bye.
arrived.
All right, that's good to know.
Not
All
that
right.
you're not special or anything.
All right, Rebecca Connors, how are you?
Good morning.
You made it. It was so good to see you.
Yes.
All right, so
Yeah, I just came up the flight of stairs.
well,
We do that to trick people.
We do have an elevator. You are allowed to
It's
use
all
it.
about burning calories.
Oh, okay, that's fine. All right, so first of all, hello, and is this your first time on our show?
I think so.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it is, yeah.
It's lovely. It's
Yeah,
good to
this is
see
great.
you.
Welcome.
Because every now and then we get you on the phone to do news things.
For sure.
But this is kind of an important deal, and
Yes.
we're really glad you're here with us. So,
Yeah.
what information do you want to share with us this morning?
Our office is still in need of election judges. We're trying to hit that like 750 to 800 mark. As of earlier last week or end of last week, we had about 740 signed up. But when you have about 20 or 30 that don't appear for a class,
Right.
our numbers start going down again.
Sure.
So we're still in that need of having election judges to staff polling places on election day.
Yeah,
So what happens if you don't get them all?
You know,
I mean, is the election off? Montana doesn't count. It was just a big gray mark on the map.
we experienced that in 2014. We did not hit our numbers earlier in that year. So we had to offer a supplemental training. I think we got another 75 trained, but of the 75, only about 35 or 40 could work that election.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, we usually, in November of 14, we had over 175 people decline work or cancel on us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, people don't know this, but that's where the big money is, right? You guys are like giving $12.50 an hour or
This is what we call
$9
a
an hour,
paid
$5.
public service commitment. It's about minimum wage, but it's all about supporting the election process here in Missoula County.
Now, if you happen to vote Bernie or Hillary, do you get $15 an hour? No, not even.
It's all about the voting process.
Okay, so I think maybe what might be scaring people is, oh my gosh, I've got to go to a class. That means there's going to be a test. I could fail. I could be humiliated. I won't know what to do. Do I have to use complicated machinery? Do I have to know computer programming? What's the deal? So put our minds at rest. What exactly are the duties of an election judge?
Training is required, and we hold our training throughout the month of February
Right.
because we have such a large number to train. So we offer a basic certification class. It's about 3 hours long. We have videos. There's a lot of question and answers. It's a lot of information. But once you attend that basic certification training, you are then on our roster to pull from for election judges to work on election day.
Okay.
And so our real need is for the primary and especially the November presidential.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha. So I guess the primary is going to be kind of practice, right?
It's a warm-up.
What is the turnout usually for a primary compared to the big deal?
For Montana, it's low. It's very lower than compared to probably these early
Because
primaries.
we don't really matter when it
Right,
comes
and
to
usually
primaries.
the conventions are held either in like June or July, so everybody's kind of already figured out who they have. But the primary still means something in Montana. We have a lot of local races that need to be determined who moves on to that November ballot, statewide races that are important. So we still have an important primary.
Will it be Gianforte or Bullock and Gianforte? We don't know. We got to choose.
All right. So tell us a little bit about the training. Is it usually held in the evening? And where do we have to go and that sort of thing?
Training is held at the fairgrounds. It's held in the morning. We have afternoon sessions. We have evening sessions available. If you go to Missoula.electionjudge.com, we have the whole list of training classes that are available. And you can even sign up online or give our office a call at 258-4751 and we can get you registered.
Okay. Strap those headphones on because we have a caller that wants to visit with you live on the radio.
Perfect.
All right, Mike, you're on with Rebecca Connors. Hi.
Yeah, good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning.
You're looking for volunteers to help you out. This is the way I do it. I think I'd hit the high school up. There's a whole bunch of kids that are going to graduate this spring. They're turning 18. Why don't you go down there? That would be no greater. That would be one of the best things they could do is to learn about the elections. If you could do it, that's where I'd go looking for help.
That's a great
Because
idea.
I really believe in kids are a whole lot smarter than we give them credit for, and they do a really good job. I really think they would.
Definitely. That's an age group we're trying to target is that 18 to about 35 or 40, the younger demographic. The average age of an election judge is 72 years old.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, not be a whole lot over that one. But yeah, maybe you could call the principals of the school and say, put them in the auditorium and let's give a talk to them. The whole deal. and explain to them you have to really pay attention because this is going to disappear if you don't.
All right, thanks, Mike. Hey, how about an election pep rally?
Let's do it.
I can see you in your cheerleader outfit. You know, give me an E, give me an L, give me. Well, I can't even. spell
First
election.
vote. Oh, I can't tell you who actually she voted for because that's illegal. But you get the idea.
Anyway,
Montana.
we're up against a break, and before Rebecca runs out screaming, 721-1290 is our number if you'd like to visit with Rebecca Connors, our elections administrator for the city and county. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back on Talkback. Rebecca Connors, our guest, the elections administrator for the city and county of Missoula, looking for election judges. And if that's you, how do they sign up, Rebecca? What do they have to do?
If they go to Missoula.electionjudge.com, it will provide a list of classes they can sign up for. They can do the process online. They can call our office at 258-4751, tell our staff which class they would like to sign up for. We can get them taken care of that way as well.
I'm curious what exactly an election judge does. I mean, are they watching you as you go into the voting booth, make sure you know how to pull the lever or whatever, or touch the screen, or are they there to dump Gatorade over your back if you get the right vote, or what? Like, what exactly is the process for the judge?
An election judge is the eyes and the ears and the hands on the election day process. They're the ones that make sure when you appear to vote that you have the correct ID, that you're in the register and you can appear at that precinct to vote. They will issue you the ballot. They do the accounting of ballots on election day. They help with troubleshooting through the scanning machines or give the instructions of how to deposit their ballot into the voting machine. They do a lot of different roles on election day and give out I voted stickers, which is important.
Now, we all kind of watched what happened in Iowa, where election judges apparently dropped the ball a little bit. I mean, did you watch this at all as an elections administrator?
That's a different process.
Well, of course, we don't have
a caucus.
We don't have flipping of the coin.
But there was paperwork missing. There was a whole bunch of stuff that seemed to slip through the cracks. And is that a fear if we don't have enough judges here, or is it a little bit easier here in Montana?
The fear is if we don't have enough election judges this is our 2014 was a struggle, and we're starting to see the pattern repeat. And what we're going to have to do is look at possibly consolidating polling places to accommodate the number of judges that we can recruit year after year. Other larger counties have had the same issue. Yellowstone County used to have to recruit 700 to 800 judges. Now they have one central voting precinct and several rural voting places.
Well, I got a poll recently asking me how far I would be willing to travel to vote. Mm-hmm. Is that from you guys?
Yep, that's from our office. We're conducting a survey, reaching out to Missoula County voters, just trying to see ways to better conduct outreach, what barriers there are to voting. In the November 2014 election.
I told them I would travel 10 miles. Don't take them up on that, please.
Well, in November of 2014, we had 18,000 ballots that were not returned. They were received by the voter, but not voted and returned. So we want to know what the barrier is to not having 100% voter turnout.
All right. So here's I would walk 10 miles uphill both ways. Right. Just like going to school when I was a kid.
500 miles?
Well, anyway, okay, here's my question. This could all be done away with, okay, if we just had mail-in ballots for all elections. So now, is it constitutionally or is it mandated federally that these primary and general elections have to be polling place elections, or is it the state's option to say, you know what, we can't get people to volunteer, we're just going to do it by mail?
It is the state's option.
It is.
So states like Colorado, Washington, Oregon have opted in for mail ballot elections.
How's that going for them?
When you have a mail ballot election, you have a very high voter turnout. When we have 65% of Missoulians vote by absentee, vote by mail, and when we have have their return ballots, we have about 90% turnout from those absentee ballots. We get a high turnout from those.
Well, so what's the holdup? I would think, gosh, if the one thing that you're looking for is voter participation,
right,
and people either are too lazy or forget or whatever, or they're busy doing whatever to go to the polls, I would think that would be the ideal solution.
Right. It's been proposed to the legislature the last 3 sessions, and it has been turned down by the legislature. So that's where we see the roadblock. And for us, a lot of the local elections, when the city or the schools conduct their elections, there's a significant cost savings. If you run a countywide mail ballot election, it's about $70,000 to conduct. Our primary in 2014 was $165,000 to conduct.
You could start to buy a water company with that. That's a lot of money. Sorry, I got laughing at my own joke. That's not proper. I did have a question for you about the election process and the judges. I think a lot of people out there feel that part of the judge's job is to make sure that no one pulls shenanigans when it comes to the vote tally, right? Mm-hmm. And can you allay people of those fears? I'm sure there's people out there that are, man, it's all a scam. It's all rigged. They count the votes.
But I remember you responded quite forcefully when we had calls on this show accusing your office and the county and the city of, rigging, pulling, doing whatever. So we got you here in the studio. I want you to, like John said, please allay those fears. Tell us what actually happens in the inner sanctum of how these things are counted.
Sure. The election judges are like I mentioned before, they are part of the process at the polling place. They're the hands, the eyes, the ears. They are very involved in that process. And at our polling places, we have representation from all parties. At our central counting center, which is held at the fairgrounds, where we conduct all the tabulation of absentee ballots, the same process is there. We have representation of all parties. There's many eyes and hands and ears on the process that are watching this. And I've had a lot of people who've doubted the system, and then they say, you know what, can I be a part of it? And then they learn so much more. If it's like mistrust in the machines, we have those people come in and help us create the test deck, and they're the ones marking the ballot that goes through the test, and they watch how the machine counts those ballots. And then they're part of the process on election day and watching the machines count those ballots again, and we're earning their trust. But our office is comprised of 5 people. There are a lot of people that are helping this process. They're not throwing away ballots. They're not doing any hanky-panky with the voting machines because there's just too many people involved. There's so much accounting in the process, from counting the number of ballots that are going through machines, through our whole reconciliation process, from where we receive the ballot to how that ballot's received into the voter database and how it's counted, and then how that numbers carry over to our central tabulation center. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of counting involved, and so the process is very detailed.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have Rebecca here till 9. 721-12. Do you have a question? I know you have a question. I know you do. This is the lady with the answers.
Why don't you throw that number up also for where they go to get involved and sign up to be a volunteer?
Call our office at 258-4751 to sign up for classes.
All right.
258-4741.
4751.
258-4751.
You got it.
Nice, John.
Sorry, whatever homeowner has that number.
Okay, we're back on Talk Back. Rebecca Connors, Elections Administrator, joining us in studio. Only about 2 minutes left in the program. So, for those who are worried, because you and I talked during the break, election history in Missoula, Democrats reign. Okay, we got a Democratic mayor, even though he's nonpartisan. We have Democratic sheriff. We have everybody's a Democrat. So a lot of conservatives and Republicans feel like, well, gee, if that's true, then how can conservatives or Republicans get a fair shake when it comes to the election? So you're the administrator, so put our fears at ease here.
Sure. The makeup of the voters in Missoula County are, within the city limits, we have 55,000 registered voters. Mm-hmm. In the county, we have about 20,000 registered voters. So those who live in the urban setting are usually more of the left side of the spectrum and vote more liberally. And that's where the votes are weighted towards. And the conservatives, who are outside of the city limits and make up most of the right side of the spectrum, they have less votes. They have about 20,000. So that's why you see this shift towards more of a Democratic candidate in Missoula.
Okay, we have Facebook.
Yeah, a question from Jeannie. She wants to know, is one of the problems with the difficulties on Election Day the fact that there is voter day registration? Does that clog up the system?
Same-day voter registration we've definitely had to pull at least 200 judges to the fairgrounds for Election Day. That's why our number also has increased. And we just need that support of directing traffic. Missoula triples the state in same-day voter registrants. When Gallatin County is maybe doing 400 same-day registrants, we're doing 1,500.
Wow. We're really decisive, clearly.
Is that primarily because of university students, or is it just the way it is? We're just lazy.
Stereotyper.
There are university students, but on Election Day, when we see elderly, we see middle-aged, we see students. We see it's definitely a diverse crowd that comes out.
Okay, give us your phone number and website address one more time.
258-4751 or MissoulaElectionJudge.com.
Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
You
Thank
bet.
you for putting up with us. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we'll have. I guess we'll have open phones or
open phones.
Yeah,
talk about whatever you want to talk about.
And we will be right back. Buddy, it's hour number 2 of Talkback, brought to you by the Mustard Seed Asian Cafe, Kootenai Creek Village, Dig It Excavating, Transport Equipment, Bulls Eyewear, Nissan and Hyundai of Missoula, and by Selway Armory. Okay, welcome everybody. Hour number 2, kind of open phone thing happening. So what do you got?
Well, we had a really great question I didn't see on our Facebook page before we lost Rebecca, but the question was, please ask Mrs. Connors why she allowed her office to coordinate the opening of a satellite elections office with Forward Montana, a known progressive organization that supports get-out-the-vote efforts for far-left candidates.
Good question.
I can call her up after the show, though, and try to get a response.
All right, let's do that. But right now, Dave's on the line. Hi, Dave.
I think you better bring her back. But
What's up?
Another thing is, and I've been proposing this for years, that at the precincts where you actually physically go to vote and deposit your ballot in a little slit in the top of the thing, that the ballots be counted and, for each category at the precincts, then reported by phone to the courthouse. Then, and only then, should the ballots be shipped to the courthouse for a second count. And if the counts don't agree, then immediately an investigation should ensue.
So should they put like an electric counter on each, when you put your ballot in the slot, it like ding, like 1, 2, 3, that sort of thing?
Well, I think that does that machine reliably tell you who got what for each category on your ballot? Do you know that or don't you?
Well,
are you talking about the systems that had problems in other states where, like, you would touch a button but it would accidentally count for another voter or another candidate?
Well, I'm thinking of the ballot I get, the paper ballot.
Okay,
that's what I'm thinking, because I don't know of another system.
So
I think that's a better system.
So when you color in the dot, so are you worried that it's not going to read the right dot, or what?
No. I just want to prevent chicanery at the courthouse.
Okay.
And that's why I propose what I propose. But that can only be done with a regular paper ballot, like Grandpa used to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe I ought to have her back. Ask her these questions.
Well, I'll tell you what, she is one of the, let me put it this way, she is probably one of the most accessible public employees that I've ever had the opportunity, pleasure
But sometimes when you question them over the air, it's more valid than some phone call between just two parties.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, yeah, we got your question. We will definitely ask it.
Very good. Bye.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate the call. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. And Tom is on line 3. Hey, Tom, what's on your mind?
The machines at the precincts all have counters on them. So if you got 100 people voting, the machine registers 100 paper ballots.
Okay.
And then before it gets to the courthouse, the ballots are taken out of the machine, put in a box, and sealed.
Now, it sounds like you have experience in this, Tom.
Well, I've got experience in a few things, but this is just one of the minor details in my long-lived life.
Okay. Well, is anything else you'd like? Because people are interested in this.
A few years ago, we had a mail-in ballot for the school bond issues.
I remember. I was there.
Well, I helped count those ballots. And like I said earlier, all the ballots are supposed to be sealed per precinct. Now, this was a mail-in situation.
Right.
And when we counted those ballots, those boxes from each precinct had at least 4 or 5 different precincts in each box. Those boxes, when they were brought out to us, were already opened. So, and everybody at the Poverello Center voted. I don't know about everybody, but I bet there was at least 100 people whose address was the Poverello Center. And for a mail-in ballot for a school, a bond issue, there were a lot of dead people that voted. And I say dead people, which means if you haven't voted in 4 years, you're kind of set off to the side, right? But there were a lot of people that didn't vote for 4 or 5 years that somehow voted in that school bond issue. That thing was as phony as the day is long.
Well, I remember when I was there, when the initial numbers came in, and that was when Dr. Alex Apostle was the superintendent. And they were deeply worried that it wasn't going to pass, and oh my gosh, this could be the worst thing ever, because it was one of those really necessary school bond issue technical. I forget exactly what it was for. But lo and behold, when the polls closed and they got the final numbers at 10:30, it had sailed through, it had passed, and there was jubilation and, the wiping of brows, and wow, we got lucky on that one, and you know what I mean? And so at that point, there were some people who wanted to have an investigation, and it just never really got off the ground. So,
well, Patty got put off for years trying to get that.
Patty Lovis, right? Yeah,
yeah, those votes counted. And like I said, we were there for 2 days counting, and it just didn't seem right because too many people that hadn't voted for quite a few years, somehow they appeared back on the rolls. Because what we did was we got the paper ballot, took a look at it, and matched the voting rolls. And, it was a computer printout on the voting rolls. And I'll tell you what, some people voted twice. I don't know how these things happen. But like I said, when we saw the boxes, when they brought the boxes of ballots out, they were they were not sealed. They were open.
Let me ask you this, Tom. When you see that sort of stuff as an election judge, do you have a bell you ring? Shenanigans on aisle 3. I mean, how does everybody know? I mean, obviously you thought it was an obviously weird thing. I mean, did you say something?
Yeah.
And what happened?
There were crickets.
So, yeah. There's nothing to see here.
You
move along.
It
right?
earlier. It never got off the ground.
Right. So there's nothing to see here. Move along, please. Right.
Yeah, we got. I couldn't figure out. We stopped counting when Patty finally said, "Man, we got enough. We got enough evidence here. Something's wrong." And I really don't know how far she was able to take it, or who even listened.
Yeah, she passed away, I think, 1.5 years ago.
Well, she was going to higher courts, if I recall.
Yeah,
right?
she had already gotten word that the U.S. Supreme Court was going to consider the case, but they didn't. So.
Well, I'm sure they get thousands of requests a day.
Absolutely. Sure they do.
But I don't think the mail-in is a good deal.
All right. Well,
I would trust the machine and the half a dozen people at each precinct before I would trust a mail-in situation because of what I saw a few years ago.
All right. Well, Tom, we sure appreciate the call. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, take care. We're up against a break. 721-1290. Tyler, we'll get you on in a moment. We have one line open. Actually, 2 lines open. It's 721-1290. This is Talkback, and we were going to have a guest on this morning, but she had laryngitis, so we'll have to reschedule her. So, anyway, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be right back. Thanks for calling. Yeah. All right. 721-1290 is our number. We have 2 folks on the line who want to visit with us. Let's get to the phones and say good morning to Tyler. What's up, man?
Hey, guys. So on that very first primary, the coin toss primary, there was
you mean the caucuses?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, all right.
Coin and caucus, they are alliterative. It's nice.
Yeah. There was one precinct that only one guy showed up to vote in, and he voted for Bernie, and that whole precinct went to Hillary. That's how accurate these polls are, and these booths and the counting and all that. So I just want to point that out. But what I really called in about, since it's so performed, and we talked about the plow trucks last week with Mike, the trapper.
Oh, yeah, over the
Highway
93 or Highway 12, yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday, I was doing some work here at the house, and lo and behold, thank you, Missoula County, for sending your plows down to plow a dry street. They were literally plowing gravel off the road in Lolo.
What?
Yeah, it's like they're getting ready for spring. They're getting ready to break out the street washer, you know?
Yeah, right.
Well, they came out with the plows, and the plow went up and down the street past my house twice. I don't know if maybe somebody over there at the county was listening and happened to knew where I lived or something to send the plow out here to plow my grass. But they tore up a bunch of grass in my front yard. It's real cool, but they did the same thing last year when I called in and complained about the plows from last year. But I don't know what's going on with that. But Highway 12 is clear. So Trapper Mike, I didn't dodge any snow plows out there last weekend. But
now,
they're
I
coming
will
to my
say,
house.
I don't know about the whole city, but one of our friends, regular listener, is on the street maintenance crew. So I've had conversations with him, and I remember. I don't know if anyone remembers the show. The mayor was on one time, and we were talking about potholes, and he said, you'll get your pothole fixed within 2 weeks. And I said, I know that's not true because I put in report after report, and it's still not filled. It's been over a month and a half, 2 months now, I think, and. I have pictures of my kids standing in the water, like we can bathe in the pothole, and but that day that we did that show, I came home and they were doing it in my street, and I'm like, wow, the mayor pulled the strings and got this done. I'm actually kind of impressed. Well, no, the street maintenance crew was listening to the show with the mayor and then went and did it.
Yeah.
So for this year, for pothole season, I recommend that everybody go out and buy one of those little Charlie Brown Christmas trees. And just take it in the pot and set it right in the middle of the hole.
All right.
Well, that would be a road hazard.
I will say, Tyler, that I went to the.
That's a public service, by the way.
I went to the City Club of Missoula, State of Missoula address yesterday, and after the mayor got done talking about the fact that housing is a right, and was talking about the water company, he said, "Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are expecting an epic pothole year this spring." And there's general laughter. So
I've already hit a couple, spine tingling ones. So,
but he did. I believe it was 552-6000 is the number, or it's either 258 or 552.
Oh, give out another bull crap number.
Yeah, I'll make sure we get the right one.
3300111111.
Yeah, it's very important, and I will call and make sure I get the right number.
So, housing's a right now. Can I have yours?
Yeah. I heard that too. Housing's right. My goodness.
Well, here, hang on.
You what.
I've got it right here. Hold on just a minute. This is, I think it's pretty instructive, actually. So I'm going to turn you down just a little bit, Tyler. And where is it? Come on, Peter. You can do it. Here it is. City Club. Okay, this is Mayor Engen. This was yesterday at the City Club of Missoula, and here is what he said about one of his favorite topics, which is affordable housing.
I believe that it is a fundamental human right, and I believe that the city of Missoula ought to adopt the notion formally that it is a fundamental human right to have safe, decent housing in our community, and we have an opportunity to work together to do that. The best of us should be reflected in the eyes of the least of us.
Wow. I wonder who's the decency police that's going to work for the Supreme Court to adjudicate whether or not something is decent housing or not.
Again,
what the heck? Yes, private property is a right established and, at least not established by God, but codified in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. But housing? What else is a right? Clothing? What? I know that equal distribution of candy is the supreme right among my children.
Well, now, hold on a second. If you look at the hierarchy within the Declaration of Independence, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which at that time had something to do with property ownership, okay?
No, that was Locke, which was before that.
Okay, well, anyway. But life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And where is housing in there?
Property.
Well, yeah,
but you don't have a right to get it. You have a right to. You have a right to try to get it, but you don't have a right to have it.
But hold on. If we're going to make that a fundamental right, we have to move up the line of hierarchy. Because if you don't have food, who cares about a house? So food should be a fundamental right. Clothing should be a fundamental right. Shelter should be a fundamental right.
Happiness should be a fundamental right. And they canceled the show that I like, so they Get them back on.
Not happy. So anyway, God,
Carolina fans are probably unhappy right now.
Yeah,
they have a right to win a Super Bowl too.
Poor Cam Newton. His rights were abused like crazy. All he wanted to do was stand in the pocket and throw passes. They wouldn't let him do it. That was unfair.
Jeez.
All right. I'm sorry. Let's get Dave on the line. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
What's up, man?
Well, I'd like to change the subject a little.
Okay.
Sure, it's open phones.
Here we go. I'd like to speak to why the world, and especially the Muslims, don't trust America.
Okay.
Okay, it goes back further, but we'll start with George H. Bush. When he called for the Iraqis to revolt against Saddam,
sure,
and the Shiites in the South revolted like he wanted, and then his military stood by and watched Saddam's Air Force destroy the rebellion.
Yep.
And now Obama is doing the same thing in Syria. He supported the removal of Assad, and now he's watching the Russian army or Air Force destroy the Syrian rebellion.
Yeah.
And if we want respect in this world, we have to look at Putin. When he supports his friends, he'll do whatever it takes to make sure his friends don't lose. And if we want to be like Putin, be respected like Putin is, we have to follow his example. Because the military is not the problem. Our military is strong enough to beat any country in the world.
So you're saying when it comes to the Muslim world, if we want to be respected like Putin is, we have to ally with our friends. That might be true, but you realize that about half of the Muslim world hates Putin.
Right.
The Shia half.
Right. And Putin has picked the Shiite half.
Sure, he's chosen a side. He said, I'm siding with this part of the faith over that part of the faith.
Right, and we sit in the middle. And so we're hated by both sides.
Right, because we're trying to play the middle.
Right.
Trying to be fair.
Yes, and it's
I mean, there's yeah, you could say, yeah, he has better friends, but he also has bigger enemies in some ways.
But at least he's respected. At least he has friends and makes a commitment and sticks to it.
Well, he's respected among the Shia.
Well, even the Sunnis respect him. They may not like him, but they respect him.
They may be trying to bomb him. I mean, you realize that there is a section of Russia that has had a long history of terrorist problems.
Right.
And some of them they exported to America, and we have the bombings at the marathon because of it, the Chechen rebels.
Right. So certainly you can't get through the world without having enemies. You need to support your friends.
I really, really wish we could have this gal. What's her name? Reza.
No,
Reza, I believe. Anyway,
that's her last name.
Yeah, she had laryngitis today, but hopefully we can get her on soon because she has a video that will absolutely.
Raheel Raza.
Yeah, Raheel Raza. Yeah. Anyway, Dave, we got to let you go. We're overdue for a break. Thanks for the call. I watched that video a little bit while I was doing the news, just bits and pieces of it, and it is. Let's just say it's very educational. Very enlightening. And we're going to come right back with more of Talk Back. We're doing open phones, so whatever's on your mind, 721-1290 is our number. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. Thanks for joining us on Talk Back. It's the Tuesday edition, and we were going to have a guest, but she had laryngitis, so we are opening the phones.
Yeah, by the way, our guest, Raheel Raza, has done a number of different videos, and I have placed one of them on our Facebook page called By the Numbers, one that she's very well known for. And you'll find it is very interesting. She is a Sunni Muslim.
Right.
Has a lot of problems with people saying that there isn't a radicalization problem in the Muslim community because, well, she's seen it. Right. And she's talking about how, terrorism and supporters of terror and the circle that encompasses is so much larger than most of those in the liberal West are willing to accept.
Like Ben Affleck.
Like Ben Affleck, yeah.
He's part of this panel, and he absolutely goes off. He will not stop talking to give people a chance to reason or argue, whatever. He's blah, 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 and it just goes on and on. So.
Well, did you watch that? We talked about that when it happened, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a while ago. That was on the Bill Maher show.
All right, let's get Harry on the line. Harry, thank you for holding. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good morning. John especially argues against socialism a lot, and I'll be the first to say that pure socialism does not work. But then that's the only thing is you only argue to the extremes. Pure capitalism does not work either. If you have pure capitalism,
great question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Under your democratic socialism,
Uh-huh.
what parts of our lives would not be better run under a socialist method? And which parts of our lives has Bernie said would not be better run under a socialist method?
So,
You're going to have a hard time coming up with one because I don't think he's said
you,
anything.
you don't let me talk, John. Please let me talk.
Go ahead.
You have to define democratic socialism, I'm not the one to define that. But can I make my point? You always sort of wander off on these rabbit trails. The idea is that socialism is horrible. Well, we have a lot of socialism in this country. We have socialized cops, socialized fire. Even our school systems are socialized. And if you want to take it extreme, our medical, before Obamacare was socialized medical coverage, because you couldn't go to a doctor, but you go to the emergency room and they had to cover you. So that was socialized. I mean, that was under Ronald Reagan put the law that hospitals could not deny you care. So that's, it just a matter who pays for it. So I mean, socialism it's a big gray area. I mean, there's a smaller socialism, there's huge socialism. Like I say, absolute socialism does not work.
Okay, well, now back to the original question, which I think is important. I think that your description of what is socialism is extremely broad, and we won't be agreeing on that part. But I do want to ask my question again, because I think it's very important for Bernie Sanders supporters to answer.
I'm not a Bernie Sanders.
Okay, well, if you like socialism, which sounds like you do,
no,
I think you do too.
I think it's a fact. You keep you're putting
why is it a fact?
In my mind that aren't there.
Okay, well then tell me what socialism is. You believe in a fact, but you haven't described it. So what do you believe in?
It's socialism. Well, I mean, I say it's a big area. I mean, there's absolute socialism where government controls everything, and then there's other socialized cooperatives could be a socialized thing.
So
where
basically, socialism to you is any time we do something together, that's socialism.
Yeah, that's social.
That's a silly, simplistic definition of socialism.
What?
I said that is a silly, simplistic definition of socialism.
Well, that's the base of the word. Social is the group, isn't it? So, I mean, it's...
Look, this is the difference. Socialism, when you apply it to governance, is when the federal government requires equal income from everybody and distributes the goods to everybody else.
That's one form of it, yeah.
That's when you're talking about the federal government. When you're running for president, you're running for an office in federal government, and that's the kind of socialism we're talking about.
Is it? I don't think anybody's calling for the government to take over all corporations.
Well, have you listened to Bernie Sanders?
Are you kidding me?
He wants to dissolve all the corporations.
He's saying that
he wants to get corporations out of elections and everything else.
He's saying we should tax them more, but he's not saying we should do away with all private corporations.
Yet. And that's actually, I think that's a great point.
You're putting it in there. He didn't say that, but you are. So you're talking for Bernie Sanders now.
And this is the question I have for you and the Bernie Sanders supporters. You are right. Bernie Sanders has not said those things. And I say yet. And the reason why is because Bernie Sanders believes in democratic socialism. Okay? What the heck does that mean? We will have as much socialism as the democracy will allow us to have? Because you really have to define what sorts of things the government would not be better at managing than the private sector if you're going to support democratic socialism and have any faith in the person that you're voting for. And I have not yet heard Bernie Sanders delineate where he believes socialism should end.
Yeah, where's the line?
Yeah, where is the line? Are we just going to stop at health care or Medicare for all or Medicaid for all? Are we going to just stop at
free
at
public education?
College education? Yeah. I have not heard any limits on his socialism.
High school education. So what's the difference? I mean, where do you draw the line? That's up to the
that's a question for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
For me, we draw the line at having zero democratic socialism.
Well, so we shouldn't have any private. All schools should be private. All fire departments should be privatized. Roads should be privatized, where you have to pay a fare every time.
But they're not run by the federal government, Harry. None of those things are. Your fire. It's all run local by your local government.
But it's still underneath.
Look, under the Constitution, your state and local government have more power than the federal government over those things, and by design.
And they should.
To put those things in the hands of the federal government is to break up federalism as it was instituted in the Constitution.
And not only that, Harry, but that's one of the reasons why so many people are opposed to the federal government owning so much land in the West, because they have no idea how to administrate lands that are 2,500, 3,000 miles away. They don't have boots on the ground to take care of it. And so it burns every year and ruins the environment and the atmosphere for dozens of Western states and costs billions and billions of dollars every year.
Do you think the states could afford to fight fires all the way through the wilderness?
I think the states could do a whole lot better job of managing that land so that it doesn't burn every year, Harry.
Yeah, by selling it all off. Yeah, right.
All right. Thanks for the call. Always a pleasure. All right.
By the way, if you're out there and you know the answer to the question that Harry doesn't know the answer to, and I don't believe Bernie Sanders does, where does democratic socialism stop in your idea? Where is the point where the socialist system isn't better than the private system?
Okay. 721-1290. We're way overdue for a break, Charles. I apologize. We'll get you on right when we come back. We have 2 lines open. Interesting conversation. 721-1290. We'll be right back. I got your talk back right here. 721-1290 is the number. 1-800-568-5309.
Yeah. Real quick, before we go to our call, who's been waiting way long, and I apologize. Socialism is social control of the means of production. Right? Democratic socialism has always been part of socialism. They've always used the term democratic when they talk about socialism. Why? Because it's always supposed to be all of the people working together for this great utopia.
Right.
But what in practice happens is the power becomes centralized in a small bureaucracy of people who have total control over the lives of others.
But because we know best.
And it's just like totalitarianism.
Right. In other words, it's always got the best of intentions that always go wrong because of the basic human nature that we all have.
And I can understand and sympathize, and even at times in my life probably have felt a leaning towards that desire for this utopianism. Can't we all work together?
Wouldn't it be nice
we all do it better this way?
Right, yeah.
I just see a huge threat when people can't say what sort of things they don't want to have under a socialist system.
Okay, all right, let's get Charles on. Charles, first of all, thank you for your patience. Sir, what's on your mind?
Oh, I was listening while I was being patient, so there's no special reward for that. My mind has changed because I was going to talk about Rubio, and then you talk about these dictators in the Arab world and they're fighting him. Now you're in socialism. Just in passing here, we want people to respect us in the Middle East, do we? How can they respect us when we just get fighting there? We get these rulers removed that everyone agrees are despicable people and everything else. But we remove them, and then there's no control over those people. Those people apparently needed real strict dictators because now they're wiping out the Christians too. So it hasn't worked out too good. But now in socialism, we've had a perfect laboratory here. Let's take the VA. Now that's Obamacare, where the government has complete control of the VA. And yet we get all these reports that the vets are being treated so terribly, and they haven't straightened it out yet. So socialism isn't working in that little part, and then we wanted to get it to the whole U.S.
What's interesting, Charles, is when you talk about the VA. I remember for years the VA has been universally, castigated for being a horrible system. But whenever there's I think there was one, we had one story, I think it was yesterday, about a gentleman who won his 3-year fight with the VA to have his disability. There was an IED that exploded. He was severely damaged. Originally, he was rated at 70% disabled, and the VA came in and said, no, it's only 10%. So he had to fight for 3 years to get the VA to return him to his almost full disability. So, well, that's one guy. That's one guy out of what, millions?
I know.
Who are still having problems with the VA. So let's not lose sight of the whole problem here.
That's right. I mean, it just doesn't work. And it's easy to bash the VA. I know there are doctors in it that want to do the best they can, but it just isn't working.
It's hard.
Let's take the post office now. Before the email and everything, see, every year they get more and more stuff in the mail. So the guy that comes to your door is carrying more envelopes. And in a regular business, the more volume they have, the less cost per item. But when that was happening, when they were getting more and more business, they had to ask for more and more money because it was costing more. It was just the reverse. I mean, it's just a disaster. And hey, and let me thanks for calling. There's so many delightful things you're having on this. I might just mention on this Rubio, if you don't mind me bringing him up, and Christie.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, listen. People think that, and I'm not advocating for any candidate at this point, but people think that that was such a put down to Rubio. Well, maybe, as it plays out in the Midwest, maybe as it plays out here in the Northeast, but how about where there's big concentrations of Spanish-speaking people? Do they think it's real cool that someone who's a prosecutor can spring himself on one of their fellow speaking Spanish people and everything, and that's a sign whether he's ready for president or not? Especially when he's trying to get the point across that Obama knows just what he's doing, and I believe so too. I believe in the here we've got some choices, right? We've got the Clintons, and they've been labeled by some good columnist a criminal enterprise. I think it's kind of playing out they are. And I think now, if we really take a look at Obama, it's a traitorous, and the Obamacrats, it's a traitorous enterprise. So I'm not so sure that this was really a big defeat of Rubio. I think when we get...
Let me say something real quick, because I'm well known now as someone that's... I picked Rubio to win the primary before he even entered the race.
Right.
So lots riding, as far as I am concerned, on Rubio doing well. I've watched a lot of debates in my life. I used to judge debates as a job. There is no way you get around the fact that Rubio had the worst position in that particular debate because of that little segment. Now, the rest of the debate, he did really well. One might even say, if they were judging that particular debate, that he came back from it. However, most people didn't see the whole debate. Most people probably turned on for 40 minutes, watched that first 10 minutes, or heard the replays on local news.
Just heard the replays, yeah.
And I mean, if I was telling Rubio, look, you had a bad night, but every politician has them.
Pick yourself up, keep going. Hey, Charles, we're like 3 minutes over for a break. Thanks.
I'll shut up. Thanks so much.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, at least he didn't get in trouble for lying about an email server he had in his bathroom.
We'll be right back.
Thanks for calling.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. We'd love to have you on this morning. Open phones. We've been talking about all sorts of things, from soup to nuts, really. Let's get Chuck on the line. Chuck, thanks for holding. You're on Talkback. Go ahead.
You're talking about...
Yeah, that's you.
Okay, that's me. Okay, never mind. I was actually wondering about that voting business. When they have the same-day registration, that there are busloads and busloads of students from the university, and they can all register and vote. Now, if they are from different counties, different cities, aren't they supposed to vote in their county or their city versus here?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I believe, now, again, I'm talking off the... I am not going to answer that question because I would probably give you an incorrect answer, and I don't want to do that. Because I want to make sure I have the facts before I share that, okay?
Well, yeah. And at the same time, when they are from different places, and, they can same-day registration and everything, I don't understand how that works.
Well, same-day voter registration, you show up, you show your driver's license, you show the fact that you're, an eligible voter, and they sign you right up. So.
Yeah, it's all right, but by the same token, if they're from different counties, different cities, or different states, they can all vote, yeah?
I think you're asking a very good question, and rather than answer what I think the answer is, probably be wrong, I would say, hey, to our listening audience, there are thousands of people out there, if you know what the statute is on same-day voter registration, especially for university students who may have a residence, say, in Massachusetts or Florida or wherever you go to school, but you come to Missoula. At what point are you allowed to vote in a local election? Is that the question you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're only here, say, at the most for a year,
Sure.
or maybe 3 years. If they establish residency, I can understand that.
Right.
But they're only here for I don't know how many semesters, and that disappear, but yet they vote.
Yeah, and there is some angst, if you will, to folks who live and work in the Missoula community, when people from the university who don't live here and don't share the burden of paying the taxes and all
Right.
that can vote, so that there's an extra tax burden on the thousands of people that are here.
By the way, I lived in Idaho for a while. It would have been very easy for me because I had an address and other paperwork. I could have shown that I lived in Idaho, and I could have also at the same time shown that I lived in Montana and voted in both. I chose to drive home to vote in Montana at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's
Chuck, those are very good questions, and we're going to get the answers, okay?
Yeah, they always have reports after the election that signed up same-day voting, 6,000 students, and they let them vote. I don't think that's fair.
Okay, well, Chuck, we're going to find the answer, okay?
All right, I appreciate it.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. I know. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, we got a Facebook comment. So I asked people, I think this is a line where socialism under Bernie Sanders would stop.
Okay.
Okay, this is from Misty. She says, the line is drawn and maintains when no one is going hungry, when veterans are no longer sleeping on the streets, and when people are no longer dying due to lack of medical insurance and funds to pay for their prescription drugs. When people can be educated without having to pay $80,000 to $100,000 in student loans before they even are able to buy a house and raise children without the stress of wondering where their next meal is coming from and how they'll pay their bills.
So far, we have free medical care, we have free housing, we have free education, all the way through college. Does that include master's degrees and secondary degrees?
I don't know. I mean, that's $100,000. You don't have to spend that to get an undergraduate.
This is true. Yeah.
You've got apparently food,
right?
Stress-free parenting,
right?
I mean, for those of us on the other side, folks, this is hard for us to swallow. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And when we watch countries that have done this and have promised this end up as cesspools,
it doesn't work. I mean, and this is the argument I made a week or so ago, that it is the form of government that sounds really good. I mean, who wouldn't be in favor of all that, okay? But it never actually works when it's put into practice. It's the other one. It's the mean, nasty, greedy, capitalistic thing that seems to better match our human nature that puts together a society that at least makes some of that possible.
And anyway. no matter how you cut it, there are going to be people that die in the streets.
Right.
Sometimes through accident, sometimes through decision on their own.
I believe it was a really famous guy who once said, the poor you will always have with you. So we're going to come right back. Stay with us. Okay, it's Talk Back, and we're rocking right along here this morning, and only about 7 minutes left in our wonderful little radio program. So let's get Wes on the line. Wes, thank you for holding. Go ahead.
Hey, I have a whole problem with calling our market system, our economic system, capitalism. See, that's a term that Marx coined, and I just refuse to let the left control the language. And this whole thing with socialism sounds good in theory. Well, only if you're letting it appeal to your emotions. Okay. And the lowest base denominator of people getting something for nothing. Because really, if you're a thinking, reasoning person, if you're using your brain like God intended, it doesn't even sound good because you have to go, well, where's it coming from? Where's the money going to come from? Like I was arguing with my sister. I said, you know what really frosted me about the teachers' union in Missoula? When the crash happened in 2009 or 2010, right. And they were ready to strike for a raise, right. I said, where's the money going to come from? Because all the ratepayers in the county have all seen their incomes take a hit. Most of the students, their parents, all had pay cuts or job losses or layoffs. And I go, where's the money coming from? And all she could come back with was, well, it's only 2%. I go, that's totally irrelevant. Who's going to pay the bill? Yeah. And she finally understood where I was coming from and paused. But we have free markets where I own the means of my production, my skills, my property, and I should be rewarded for that. And I think if we could do away with this this so-called democratic socialism where people vote themselves other people's money to pay their bills so they don't have to work. Let the charities come back online and do what government's taken over. And you actually people are more charitable when they have control over where their money goes.
Yeah, if the government is not confiscating 45 to 50% of your income, then you have a little bit more to be generous with.
Well, never mind. I mean, and what about death taxes? Why should they even get to take any of the money that one generation has built up wants to pass on to another generation? And effectively cutting off wealth creation, unless you have you're uber wealthy, and you have the lawyers and the accountants to structure it all, so you can avoid all that. I mean, it really is farcical. And no, socialism in theory does not even sound good, because if you're thinking, you have to ask. Like Thatcher said, eventually the problem is you run out of other people's money.
Right. Hey, Wes, thanks for the call.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much for sharing that. Richard, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Hi. I got an idea for fixing government, and I wish I could sit down with the candidates and talk to them about it.
Go for it.
See what they think. Here's the deal. We elect people to represent us. They get there, and either they change their mind or they're just not allowed to function and do what we send them there to do. So what I'm thinking is a president needs to come along that will do, say, a monthly national poll on what the most critical item is that people are concerned about, and then have a vote, a national vote every month on how to address that issue, whether it be the border, ISIS, Obamacare, and then the majority wins. And in terms of Congress,
let me tell you where that will go. Okay, all right. And being in the advertising business, that's what I do for a living. Okay, you would have a public relations glut of groups that are promoting, whether it's housing or food or whatever. Whoever comes up with the cleverest, most heart-wrenching, heartstring tugging message will be the ones that get the money, and that's how it's going to work, Richard.
We've got to be able to get the power back to we the people. And the first one that I would want to address would be term limits for congressmen and senators, because we send new meat to Washington, D.C., people that truly think like we think.
Yeah.
They get there and they run into the establishment. The establishment is owned by the special interest groups and the lobbyists and these powerful political people, and they prevent the new people that we send there from representing us, and that's what we're seeing. So
and then
we've got to get the power back to.
And then they have to play ball to be able to be part of the establishment.
Sure. There's also another thing. We don't elect a bunch of little executives. Even the big executive we have is severely neutered in what he can do because of the Constitution. This is a problem Obama has had.
I've heard of that, yeah.
This is a problem that even if he wins, Bernie Sanders has had. His socialist dream just will not be able to happen because the legislature won't allow it to happen.
Right. All right, so let's get one more call on. John, we have like a minute and a half. Go ahead.
This is Dave,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Oh, is this John?
Just John?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Go for it, John.
Just a couple quick things. One, we live in a republic, not a democracy. So that's, but my thing I was really calling about was, the caller who pointed out that university students, the city council or the city manipulates them along with Montford into passing things like the Fort Missoula Parks bill. That's great. Yeah, we have a great park going in at Fort Missoula. We have a new street going in around the mall to benefit Pete Lambros and friends. Meanwhile, the rest of our streets are crumbling. I mean, we only need to look at the crumbling infrastructure and the mismanagement of our city streets to realize that the city, it would be buffoonery to let them control the water company. I shudder to think what will become of the water company if the city takes control of it.
Well, you may be a little bit late on that one, John. We'll see.
Well,
yeah,
or 10 years early. Who knows?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for your call, John.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah. All right, we have like less than. I'm sorry. You want to try to get Dave on?
Let's try to get Dave on.
Dave, you got 20 seconds. Go.
Okay. Revolutions don't always end badly. Certainly they end badly sometimes.
What about socialist revolutions?
Depends on what the
Which one worked out?
We don't know. We won't know until it's finished.
All right.
Hope springs eternal in the socialist breast. Anyway, so what's coming up on what do we have scheduled for tomorrow?
The language school here in Missoula, they train speakers from around the world. It's kind of a secret deal. Ooh. We'll get to have an inside look at it.
Yes, a covert view, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a great day. Watch out for the fog, and have a great day.